I'm 59, so I'm thinking about death all the time.
And Oprah Winfrey walks around like, I can't be checked.
The producers refused to get a new script. Keanu Reeves said he wouldn't do the movie, so instead opted to do a play in Toronto instead.
To do something I didn't want to do. And what? You've been offered. Yeah.
Keanu Reeves has a reputation for being one of the nicest people in Hollywood, and he's also faced a lot of adversity in his life before coming out on top despite everything. But personal issues aside, the actor we all know and love was actually blacklisted for almost a decade over putting his foot down for what he believed in, and Shannon Sharpe might have something to say about it. In recent years, people have been more open about talking about the adversities people face when they join Hollywood. The biggest current example is the Diddy scandal, which gets a new update every day. There are new developments constantly, with a new victim coming out recently as well.
Turn now to Sean Diddy Combs, hit with another civil lawsuit alleging sexual assault as his team pushes for the judge to disclose the names of the accusers in his sex trafficking case. Senior investigative correspondent Aaron Katursky is tracking that case. Good morning, Aaron.
Good morning to you, George. To fulfill his sexual desires, federal prosecutors have said Sean Combs abused, threatened, and coerced multiple women. He's now asking a judge to order prosecutors to identify them. Combs has pleaded not guilty to racketeering, conspiracy, and sex trafficking charges, and his lawyers say he needs the names of the alleged victims so he can prepare a defense. Anonymous allegations, the lawyers say, have created a hysterical media circus that deprived Mr. Combs of a fair trial. The music mogul's latest accuser is identified. Her name is Ashley Parham, and she's alleging in a new civil lawsuit that Combs arranged her gang rape as payback for accusing him in the murder of rapper Tupac Shakur. Parham says she was at an apartment in Orinda, California in March 2018 when Combs showed up with an entourage and a knife, doused her with lubricant and sexually assaulted her, and then instructed others to do the same. Combs' legal team did not respond directly to these new allegations, but referred us to earlier statements calling these claims false and absurd, guys.
All right, Aaron, thank you.
And many of Diddy's victims fell for the unspoken rules of the industry in an effort to become stars and use their talent without knowing that it would get them traumatized for life.
Most of these events and incidents occurred at parties, typically after parties, or album release parties, New Year's Eve parties, 4th of July parties, something they called a puppy party, the all-white party, although several of these events occurred at auditions. Many times, especially young people wanting to break into the industry, were coerced into this type of conduct in the promise of being made a star, or in the promise of having Sean Combs listen to their tape or even let them read for Sean Combs. You should know that some of this behavior occurred at well-known venues in New York City. Some of this behavior occurred at private residences of people that we all know.
But Keanu Reeves seems like someone who would be an exception to that rule. He was one of the most famous actors of an entire generation for his role in the Matrix series, and there are few people who don't know him from there. Even now, his interviews show him as someone who has his head on straight and is very likable. Recently, he gave an interview where he said he thought about death often because he was slowly getting older.
I'm 59, so I'm thinking about death all the time. So
Still very young.
I'm young old. I mean, I think thinking about death is good. Hopefully it sensitizes to an appreciation of the breath we have and the relationships that we have the potential to have.
I'm 51 and consider death something to be ruminated on with great respect. I think that one of the things, hopefully you can have it both ways. You can have a book that has these kind of, fun, explosive sequences, but you can also quite seriously sort of talk about death and what that means to be human.
But before he gained superstardom for his role in The Matrix, he was part of another blockbuster film, one that would put a hitch in his career for quite a long time. And the film was none other than Speed with Sandra Bullock. The movie grossed over $350 million against a $37 million budget, becoming an unprecedented success. So, of course, they wanted him to come back for a sequel. When he refused, things got bad.
Keanu Reeves has said yes to some of the biggest roles of all time, but he's also said no to some junk, and because of that, he was actually blacklisted by Hollywood. In 1994, Keanu Reeves did have a hit with the movie Speed, which made $350 million on a budget of $37 million. Because that they wanted Keanu Reeves to return, they offered him $12 million, which was 24 times as much as he was offered for the first Speed movie. The problem was Keanu Reeves read the script for Speed 2, and he just told the director and the producers it was one of the worst screenplays he ever read in his life. The producers refused to get a new script. Keanu Reeves said he wouldn't do the movie, so instead opted to do a play in Toronto instead. So instead, Speed 2 was made with just Sandra Bullock in the lead, and the movie was a colossal failure, making only $164 million on a budget of $60 million, meaning it lost $80 million, and at the same time it only got a 4% on Rotten Tomatoes. Keanu Reeves was actually punished for turning down Speed 2, saying Fox wouldn't hire him for another 13 years, and they were telling other studios not to hire him as well. Keanu Reeves said the only thing that kept him alive in Hollywood was Sandra Bullock turned down the role of the Matrix, and because of that, Keanu Reeves got offered it by Sony afterwards. For years, he was punished for turning down junk, and with that, I'm Charles Pro. Please subscribe to learn something.
It's important to remember that at the time, Fox Movies was pretty much at their peak, and it would be very hard to succeed if he was being blacklisted by a major network. If Fox told other studios not to hire him, it would make moving forward very hard. Since then, Keanu has addressed his not taking the role in Speed. Early on, he said that the script had not been up to par, which was why he didn't want to take it.
When a while back there was a film, they were going to do a sequel to Speed.
Oh yeah, right.
And I think then that turned into, because when I decided not to do it, that became, well, he wants to play his music and not do that. But that wasn't.
It was
the
in
case.
fact you just didn't want to do the film.
Yeah, I couldn't do the film. I was in the state that I was in. I just
What
done
do you
an
mean,
act-
state
well, I
you
had just
in?
done an action film, and I
Yeah.
was basically tired of running.
Yeah.
And the script was not up to par, etc.
In another interview, he implied that he found the script to be weird and out of place because he had enjoyed the idea of a bus and the bomb with the time ticking, but suddenly there was an ocean liner out of nowhere.
Well, first of all, thank you very much. And Speed 2, yeah, at the time, I just, I didn't respond to the script. I really wanted to work with Sandra Bullock, and I just, I really loved playing Jack Traven. I love Speed, and it was like, okay, a bus, okay, we're going, but now it's on an ocean liner. Yeah. Speed, ocean liner. Speed,
Not feeling
ocean liner. But anyway, it was really just the time in my life and where the script was and stuff. It wasn't against any of the artists that I, involved with the project, but at that time, I'm sure we've all had this kind of feeling sometimes when things just don't feel right, and that was how I was feeling.
Perhaps the only thing that saved Keanu was luck, because when The Matrix started casting, he was actually not very high up on their list of options. They went from Brad Pitt, Leonardo DiCaprio, Will Smith, and even Sandra Bullock herself to her Speed co-star Keanu. But he took the chance and managed to secure his career. Keanu isn't the only person in the industry to have to face the unspoken rules where seemingly powerful and popular celebrities are made to do things they don't want to do by even more powerful executives that run the entertainment industry from behind the scenes. Even Kelly Clarkson has faced it.
Strong idea of a hold that you are comfortable with having on yourself and your choices. Well,
I think if you grew up poor though, you're like, look, I've been there and I was fine.
What else?
Yeah, what are you gonna do to me? Yeah. I was like, and then I don't know if you've had this, but I've had people throw millions of dollars in my face to do something I didn't want to do. And what? Just, you've been off, yeah. Oh, they're in the room.
Yeah, I don't want to.
Yeah.
That was my way of cueing you. Like, it's open dialogue.
Yeah, you want me to keep talking about it?
By all means, we can talk about anything, but
don't do it.
yeah, no, of course, offered tons, man. But I got to a place where I understood that the dollar shouldn't shift my way.
And this is coming from someone who is really firm in her beliefs and has managed to fight against the industry, trying to fit her into a particular mold.
They're also artists, and I think they make a big mistake. They grab at everything.
I'm just known as the person that, I don't respond to money. So, a lot of things have been thrown my way, and they're like, no, I don't think you heard me, how much it's for. And I'm like, I don't think you heard me. I'm exhausted.
In other words, some rich guy is having a wedding or something.
Oh,
and
that's happened before. We'll pay you this amount of money. And I was at the end of tour and I told them, I'm not saying yes to anything else. I can't physically. I'd had walking pneumonia steadily for 6 months, I feel like. I just couldn't get well.
You'd think young Kelly Clarkson would say, you know what, that's insane that someone's going to pay me for an hour $2 million.
Yes, but also I think young Kelly's still the same Kelly. I just don't. Everybody, I like to pay my bills, but when you come from nothing you realize you don't need that to survive.
When you got done with American Idol and you start to become this big singing sensation, you had to give him 6 albums, right?
She said she was told to act like other female pop stars and feature in risque shoots to compete with them.
I'm going to tell you something right now, actually. Simon Fuller, who is the head of all, it was Pop Idol originally, then it turned into American Idol. He was my manager and label whenever I won Idol. And I'm going to tell you what, this is unheard of. I was so unhappy because he wasn't really the one that was there. It was people working under him, and it just was not a good fit. And it was like just character clashing. Like it was just not cool. Like literally, I had someone underneath him come to my house and put magazines in front of me like, this is what you have to do in order to compete with today. And I'm like, here's the thing. I have no problem with people being who they are. If you want to be naked on the front of a cover, I am actually a nudist. I love being naked, but I just don't do that in work life.
The whole reason Shannon Sharpe might comment on the Keanu Reeves situation is because he has faced something similar. Shannon was essentially fired from Undisputed with Skip and Shannon. And since Skip was a long-time host, but Shannon was new to the industry after retiring from the NFL, he could have had a lot of trouble if Stephen A. Smith hadn't helped him out. Perhaps that's why he was so open to hearing Cat Williams out. The interview went viral and made Club Shay Shay a major show, but that's not what Shannon was trying to do.
What's more important to you, credibility or going viral?
A lot of times, Cam, I don't even know. I didn't know it was going to go viral. A lot of these clips that go viral. I remember when I did Cam. I remember getting up and I turned back and I look at my Cat, and I look at my producer and he's shaking his head. I'm like, oh man, we done messed up. So I'm like, what did I say?
Yeah.
Did I say something? Did he? He like, this is gonna be the talk of 24.
No way.
I'm like, you think so? He's like, Shannon. And he's looking at me just like I'm looking at you, Cam. He's like, Shannon, this is gonna be viral for the whole year. I said, come on, man. I say, so I'm thinking at that point in time, Steve Harvey is my is my most viewed podcast. He's at 8 million. I said, you think we're gonna beat Steve? He's like, yeah. I'm hoping for 10 million.
Yeah.
That's all, Cam, if I get 10 million, I'm like, that's a pretty good interview.
Yeah.
Think about how few people that's in this space that interview people that don't get 10 million.
For sure.
So if I get 10 million, that's one of the biggest podcasts. Now, that's not Joe Rogan's numbers, but that's pretty good for an up-and-coming podcast. Right. So I felt good.
But he even added that if he had put a mic on Cat Williams as soon as he arrived, the industry would have been in even more turmoil. Apparently, Cat spilled even more secrets off camera, and Shannon gave him a platform to say everything he wanted to say.
Man. But here's the thing I tell people, if I'd have had Cat mic'd up from the time he got out of the truck until the time he sat down, it'd have done 100 million. Oh, he was on it. He was on it.
Listen, first off, we're gonna get the Cat, but what is it to say about your podcast or your platform if your talent rollout has never really told, because it happened to me all the time, or it happened to me multiple times when somebody said, hey bro, I appreciate if we don't talk about blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
And it comes by way of a male or even a female.
Yes.
We're not talking about this from a journalist, from a publicist, or a supporting cast.
Right.
It happens all the time.
Yes.
And if you haven't had that, I got news for your sister, I got news for your brother. You ain't popping the way you think you are.
Right.
He and Cam Newton also discussed how celebrities sometimes want to avoid certain topics in their interviews, but Cat had a great memory.
He had studied every interview that I had done, conversation I had, he had studied. Because a lot of things that we didn't mention on the show, he was talking about it but if you notice, he was like, he did this a lot. So his recall, everything that somebody had said, that he had a question, it didn't happen like that. Because I asked Sayed, Cat once accused you of stealing a joke. Said, I didn't steal the joke because the timeline doesn't match up. And I think he said something to the effect, if you look at how his joke ended, how mine ended. Cat came back, he refuted that. I want credibility. I want people to be able to share their story without me interrupting. I think sometimes people in our position that do what you and I do, they want to hear their voice instead of the guest. Well, I can go home and hear myself talk if I wanted to, if that's what I wanted to hear. I think for the most part that people tune in to watch my pod because they want to hear what the guests have to say. I let the guests speak. People say, well, you push back on Amanda Seales. And all I said was, Amanda, did you think being a child, correcting a teacher in front of the students, could it have been something else other than racism?
And another person Shannon Sharpe had on his show, despite the fact that it could actually get him blackballed from the industry, is Monique. It's no secret that she dislikes Oprah, and Shannon allowed her to say everything she wanted to.
I should just be grateful I got invited to the party. You a big fat black woman. How dare you be the one? And then on top of that, you're saying names. You're saying Oprah's name out loud. You're saying Tyler's name out loud. You're saying Lee's name out loud. You're saying Lionsgate out loud. That's not what we do. We say they. We say the people. We say the studio. We say the producers. How dare you actually say our heroes' names?
You're very specific.
These are our heroes. How could you say their names out loud? Because they're the ones that did it. And if I don't say it out loud, now you see a woman that is swallowing that pain, that is so stressed out.
Monique was actually blackballed from the industry by power players like Oprah and Tyler Perry after the movie Precious.
So we have to decide, are you mad because you think this person is using you, or are you mad at this person because you didn't allow them to use you? And when you speaking about Oprah Winfrey and Tyler Perry, I'm not going to sit here and tell you about that they're terrible people or anything of that nature, but if what she did as it relates to Breonna Taylor was genuine, why not be like a Barbara Walters who, when they said to her, I heard it was difficult for you to interview with Monique, she could have said nothing and let that rumor be perpetuated. She came out and said, that's a lie.
Immediately.
Who bears the biggest blame as far as the blacklisting of you between the three of them? Tyler Perry, Lee Daniels, Oprah Winfrey. Who do you think has the biggest hand in it and has done the most damage to you?
They all do. They all do.
And she talked about it on Club Shay Shay.
Tyler Perry is there, okay? Tyler Perry calls me in his room. Now, when I go into Tyler Perry's room, his staff is in there. Now, you ready to holler laughing?
Yes.
Okay, I take my security in there with me because I always want to have somebody with me, right? Tyler Perry does this. And the people scattered. They all left out the room. I said, look at this shit right here. You saw me. And they all scattered.
Touché.
So Tyler Perry says to me, listen, Monique, we really need you to, promote this film because if you get nominated for the Oscar, your next movie is going to be $3 to $5 million. If you win it, your next movie is $6 to $8 million. I said, Tyler Perry, who you talking to? I'm a black woman. When they going to pay that kind of money? No, I'm telling you, that's what it is. And if you just go and promote it, I said, listen, brother, you can pay me to promote it. Because at the time, now him and Oprah producers on the film.
Right.
I said, you can pay me to do it. I don't care where the check come from, but y'all just got to pay me to do it. He said, I'm not in the habit of giving out money for free. I said, and I'm not in the habit of working for free. But you gave TD Jakes a check for $1 million, but that's another story, and I'm back.
She has even called out Steve Harvey for trying to cut ties with her publicly.
What happens in our community, they've got us chasing the bag and not principle and not integrity. Because when all of that start hitting and all that start going on, I heard my brother with my own ears say, she's burned too many bridges, and I don't know if there's anything I can do for her. And that hurt my feelings because I'm like, brother, you never pick up the phone and say, hey, Mo, what's going on? Before you went on the air and you said to millions of listeners, she's burned too many bridges. You were a part of pushing that agenda before you even asked me what was going on. So when I got on the show, I knew I needed to have that conversation because you wasn't returning my calls. You wasn't returning my text. See, I gave you the opportunity to have a private, when people say, why didn't you talk to him privately? I gave him the opportunity to do that.
So, will Keanu Reeves soon show up on Club Shay Shay and talk about his story as well? Let's wait and see. That's it for now. Don't forget to tell us what you think in the comments below. For more updates, hit the bell icon.